Hi everyone, I'm Kristina Wong, and thank you for watching Wong Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. This is the DVD extra. I first came up with the idea of creating a show about depression and suicide when I was touring an older show at Wellesley College, and that's an all-women's college in Massachusetts. And I had gone to UCLA, which is very urban, very different experience. It's like 35,000 students. It's its own city. There are always flyers all over the campus at UCLA like, have you seen this rapist? Have you seen this attempted murderer? And so it was very different for me to be at Wellesley, where it's like women can just like leave their bikes unlocked and leave their backpacks on the bench and come back an hour later and it's still there. And this is not to just say that like UCLA is, crimeville, but you definitely have to be more alert as you would be just in an urban city. And so anyway, so I'm on this campus, and I'm just so struck by how utopic it must be to be a woman and to be in this campus surrounded by other kind of progressive, like-minded women. I was staying at the feminist co-op. They had made me like squash vegan soup to drink. They didn't actually have a key for me. They didn't have an extra key, so one of the people who lived there just left her key for me in the mailbox. I mean, it was insanely safe, or so was my impression. And I remember walking around the lake with some students, and we got onto this very strange topic of talking about suicide attempts and depressed women who are on that campus and at other nearby campuses like Yale and other Northeast college campuses. And I just was walking around this lake going, how could anyone get depressed in a setting like this? And I'd been thinking about what would my new show be about? What's the new show going to be about? And we just got out of this war with Iraq, and we just gotten into a war with Iraq. What am I talking about? And and I was thinking, well, maybe the show will be about war, things like that. And what seemed a lot more interesting was this sense that I could not believe that anyone could possibly be depressed in this college setting. And in that same way, I had come across the statistic that Asian American women have the highest rates of depression and suicide in this country. And I thought, what many people think when they hear that statistic is, how can that be? How can women so perfect, so genetically predisposed to being perfect and smart and charming and lovely and quiet, how can they be going through so much torment that they bear the title of having some of the highest rates of depression and suicide? And so that's what I was interested in exploring in the show, was this issue that nobody seemed to talk about. Because when you hear that statistic, or at least when I heard that statistic, it was that statistic that was like so shocking but yet so familiar, like on an intimate level. I went into creating the show as somewhat of a ego-driven martyr. I was like, I'm going to make this theater show, and I'm going to save people's lives, and I'm going to get awards, and I'm going to get so many grants, and audiences are going to love me. Like, I was completely ego-driven. I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, and I didn't prepare myself emotionally. If I were to rewind and do this process again, I might have set up a better support system in my life. I might have had a therapist nearby that I was seeing regularly to check in with. I would have probably told my friends, hey, I'm about to go down the well. Can you just keep an eye on me, or be supportive of me during this trial? Instead, I was like, no, I can totally do this. I'm going to do this show. I'm going to save everyone's life, and I'm going to fix this problem. And that's part of where this problem started, was that I bit off a lot more than I could chew. And I also had been doing all these shows before Wong Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which I felt were so self-indulgent, and I was like, I'm going to do a show that isn't about me. I'm going to do a show that actually requires me to research other people and look at statistics, and it'll be about other people. It won't be about me. And it became very difficult, because as I was telling people I was working on this show, people would constantly ask this question again and again. Well, are you depressed? Is this really a show about you? And I found myself starting to like go into these long 1.5 hour like story things where I'm just like, well, it's not about me. I mean, I guess when I was younger, it was just like, this thing happened to me when I was younger, and then and it was just like, and suddenly I was covered in tears, and I was just like, oh my God, how am I gonna do this show? Because this is, I don't think this would be very interesting if it was about me. And I'm very fortunate to work with a very talented director, Katie Pearl, who helps playwrights develop plays. And I said, I am so stressed out. I am supposed to make this show about depression and suicide. All I want to do right now is knit and knit and knit. And she was really great about figuring out how the knitting could work into the show, and this idea of unraveling. And we were playing around because she was able to like listen to my process, and we were able to figure out how I was basically trying to create a show, what I thought a show was supposed to look like a show that follows the dramatic arc of fiction, but it wasn't going anywhere. And so that became this driving motif of the show, is that look at this, the dramatic arc of fiction, and we're gonna do this, we're gonna get through this arc of fiction very cleanly and neatly, except we keep not getting anywhere.